Hello again, everybody, and a very happy new year to you. This is our first podcast of 2026. Scott Rossman, sports director here at WJHG News Channel 7, alongside reporter anchor Hayden Smith, the everybody's favorite Hoosier. Hayden, how are you?
Doing pretty awesome, Scott. It's great to be here in the new year, and it's great to be talking about some basketball and a lot of really good teams.
And some very important basketball ahead coming up this Saturday.
Yes. We've got the start of the Panhandle Conference season. Scott, it truly does not get much better than this time of the year for teams in the Panhandle Conference. By far, arguably one of the best conferences in the nation between men's and women's JUCO basketball.
So there's 5 teams in the Panhandle Conference. So when they play head-to-head, there's always an odd man out, so to speak. This week it'll be Gulf Coast for the second year in a row getting that first round bye. They play 12 games. Everybody plays everybody else 3 times each. So that's 4 opponents 3 times. That's 12-game conference schedule. And again, Gulf Coast will sit out this week, so they get a little extra time. Kind of good, kind of bad, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. But the Chipola teams will be hosting Pensacola. The Northwest Florida teams will be heading over to Tallahassee to start conference play. Let's begin with the Lady Indians. Mitch rolls into his second season at Chipola. And safe to say they're doing pretty well so far, Hayden.
Yeah, Scott, they're 15-1 and ranked 4th in the nation in women's basketball. Like you said, they'll open up conference play on Saturday against Pensacola at home. Scott, they're coming off a pretty good season in the first year under head coach Mitch Rolls. They bring home a state title whenever they knocked off Northwest Florida in the championship game. And so far, this team has been fun to watch, Scott, especially on the offensive end, averaging 84 points per game as a team and 3 players averaging above 10 points.
I was able to visit with Coach Rolls via Zoom a few days ago. We talked about the start of conference play. Let's hear a little bit of that conversation. Here's Coach Rolls.
Well, we've been through the grind. We've played the top teams. We've been on the road. We played in some classics and 2- and 3-day tournaments and stuff like that. So, we really put our kids through the challenges of the non-conference and trying to get us ready for, obviously the toughest part of our season, which is going to be Panhandle. But, the good thing is we feel like we've seen just about every style of play you could see. We've seen big teams, athletic teams, teams that like to run zone. So just being able to get a good non-conference schedule in and play some quality teams and learn along the way. Yeah, our returners, they really understand the assignment. They understand, what's coming. They've been really vocal as far as like in film sessions or, scouting sessions with the team, letting everybody know, the type of play we're going to see and, the way things are going to be officiated, the way teams play. If you go on the road, just kind of giving everybody little tips and pointers on, what they need to expect when we get started here this Saturday. So happy to be at home on the first game, obviously, but going to have to go on the road pretty soon and deal with some of these opponents. I mean, it's SEC football. It's that type of environment where everybody's good, and us being all 3 of us, Northwest, Gulf Coast, and Chipola being in the top 5, top 7, whatever it is. Pensacola deserves every right to be in the top 25. Watched them play a few times. They've beat a bunch of ranked teams. Tallahassee is much better than they've been in a long time. So, I mean, we're not going to have any, easy games as far as Panhandle, it's going to be great coaches. It's going to be great players. There's not going to be a lot of, opportunity to relax, at least for the next 2 or 3 months.
And Coach Rolls and his Lady Indians as high as number 2 in the NJCAA national rankings, Hayden, up until a loss on the 30th that they took in one of those weekend tournaments right before New Year's, dropped them to number 4. But, at this point, that doesn't really mean a whole heck of a lot. We know they're a very good basketball team. Their game will tip at 2 o'clock at the Milt on Saturday against, again, visiting Pensacola to get conference play underway. Let's talk about Coach Tyndall and his Chipola men's team now.
Yeah, Scott, this is another team that pretty good so far in the season. They're 16-2 and ranked 7th in the nation. We'll also open up conference play on Saturday against Pensacola. They lost to both South Georgia Tech and Trinity Valley. They end up getting a revenge game on South Georgia Tech a little bit later. But, Scott, this is a brand-new team. No returners from last season's roster, and they're averaging 78 points per game as a team. Desmond Kent Jr. averaging a team-high 15 points on 52% from the field. He's definitely been a stud for them.
And I was able to visit with Coach Tyndall via Zoom and talk about the start of conference play. Let's hear a little bit of that conversation.
We played a very challenging schedule. We played, I believe, 5 or 6 teams that have been ranked in the top 20. And we went 3 or 4-1 against those teams. Our only loss to a ranked team was Trinity Valley, who we were up 2 at the half on and didn't finish the game. And so I think we played a challenging schedule, and we all know that the Panhandle Conference is always strong. This year, it may be the strongest it's ever been, with 4 teams in the top 12, and all 5 teams have been ranked in the top 20 at some point in time. So I think playing the schedule we've played has us prepared and ready for what's going to be a daunting task in regard to Panhandle Conference play. I think one thing for sure is the games are going to become more half-court oriented. The scouting and having to play each other 3 times. Teams know each other so well. It's not easy to get cheap free baskets. There's not a lot of broken floor or open floor opportunities to score the ball in these conference games. So you're going to have to be efficient at both ends of the floor in the half court. You're going to have to be able to take care of the ball and get high percentage shots. And then defensively, you're going to have to be able to guard in the half court and limit them to 1 shot. And so I think that's one thing. I think the second thing is just the physicality of our league, which I like. The refs tend to let you play more in conference play. And so the physicality at times can be overwhelming if you're not ready for that. You always like to be on your home floor, and I think with an entire new team that's never played a Panhandle Conference game, as much as I've talked about Panhandle Conference play leading up to it, probably being at home is to our benefit. And hopefully we can play well, get that under our belt, and then be prepared to go on the road, because we all know every game in this league is tough, but on the road, it's really, really tough.
You can say that again, Coach. Very difficult to play, even in Tallahassee and Pensacola, certainly at Gulf Coast, at Raider, at the Arena, at Northwest Florida, and, of course, at the Melt. Again, the ladies will tip off at 2 Saturday against Pensacola. The men will go at 4:30.
Yeah, like you said, Scott, it's always very tough to play anywhere in the Panhandle Conference. And these next 2 teams, definitely some of them as well.
Let's start with the Lady Raiders, who just happened to be the defending national champions.
Yeah, this team, Scott, they are just as good as they were a year ago. 14-1, ranked 2nd in the league so far. They open up Saturday against Tallahassee. Like you said, they're defending national champions, and so far averaging 78 points as a team, shooting 52% from the field, and 3 players averaging over 10 points a game. But, Scott, so far, they're having to deal with a few injuries.
Yeah, the 13 players on the roster, they've lost 2 to season-ending injuries, and they have 3 players out. So Coach Walker telling us a little bit more about that in my Zoom conversation with him. Let's begin there.
I mean, we played some games after the break, come back. We're the walking wounded right now. We're down to 8 players. So we're kind of in a rebuild mode and revamp mode before we tip it up Saturday. So, but you know what? You got to play with what you got. So we're just got to grit it out. Played, almost everybody in the state of Florida, other than Santa Fe. We've absolutely, we did play everybody in Region 8, which I like that. We've had competition inside there. We went outside the conference a little bit. It's very difficult to get games right now this year. Played some teams in Georgia. I think Central Georgia Tech's got a nice team. They're athletic. Played one Mississippi school. It's not typically what our schedule is in the past, but I think it's been good for this team considering what all they've gone through this year. I guess the word that most describes this team is perseverance. They're tough. They're gritty. I mean, I'm not sure how we won 14 out of the 15 games we played with. We've not had our whole team together from day one. But, I think they're just finding a way. They're gritting it out. They're finding that they can do it. But the thing is, there's a lot of opportunity for those kids that typically wouldn't get significant minutes. This is good for them. They're getting opportunity. So I guess the word would be perseverance. They're just persevering through all this garbage that we're dealing with. But, they're not complaining. They're just going out there and doing what they got to do.
And no room for improvement in terms of what the team did last year. You get that national championship. It's just so tough and independent. It's funny. You don't even win your state championship. You go out and win the national championship. That tells you how just how darn good the Panhandle Conference is. And Coach Walker, I think you said they were ranked second.
Second team in the nation.
Yeah, you
second
meant
team in the
second
nation. And based on what you said, Scott, I mean, Coach Walker's obviously had a ton of success at Northwest Florida. And I believe whenever we did the podcast with him a few months ago, he's never been able to win all three in the same year between the Panhandle, the state, and the national.
So there is a goal
championship.
to shoot for. And again, playing with 8 players, as the coach says, nobody's going to feel sorry for them.
No.
Coach Kuhn has done that a couple of times.
Yes.
Heck, he's been down to 7 and 6 players, playing in conference games with 6 and 7 players. Again, nobody feels sorry for you. It is what it is. But as the coach, Coach Walker said, a perseverant, a team, perseverance best describes that team. Let's talk about the Coach DeMeo and his Raiders now.
Yeah, so far, Scott, 17-1 on the season. They've been very good, ranked 5th in the nation. Also open up against Tally this week. And their lone loss comes to a very good Trinity Valley squad that was in the Pensacola Thanksgiving Classic. Last season, of course, they went 20-9, a little bit of a down year for them, 6-6 in conference play. They're looking to improve off of that mark, and so far they definitely look like they're well on their way from improving on that mark, averaging 88 points per game as a team, with 5 players averaging over 10 points, and DJ Shine leading the team with 18.6 points per game on 56% from beyond the arc.
Once again, able to have a nice conversation with Coach DeMeo via Zoom, and the coach talking about the non-conference season and the big 12-game conference schedule ahead. Let's hear Coach DeMeo.
A lot of really good coaches and really good programs, and obviously to get to the point where we're at, I think we've faced a lot of different defenses and different offenses and different styles. So I think when we get to league play, hopefully we won't see too many surprises. We've done really well at this point. We're 17-1, and like I said, we played a really competitive schedule, and one of the hardest schedules in the country. And we've done that without our leading scorer, DJ Shine, who was off to an incredible start until he had a little issue with his foot. He's been cleared to come back, so we're excited about that. We'll see when he gets back to 100%. But playing without a leading scorer definitely gives other guys playing time. So I think our roster, the depth of our roster is the strength of our roster. I haven't been in this position many times before. We've always thought we're deep, but this year's team, we could play 10, 11 guys, 12 guys, I think, on a regular basis that can contribute to the game and put us in position to have a chance to win the games. Yeah, we got 5 teams in our league, and Pensacola was in it. They just dropped one recently, so they fell out, but Pete Penny does as good a job as anybody in the country as well. So, last week we had 5 teams in the top 25 out of our 5 teams, and now it's 4. Tally's like 13s or 14s or something like that, and Chipola, Gulf, and us are all right there. We're number 5. We've been holding that position for a while, but it's going to be an exciting time again. Once again, I mean, we've got unbelievable coaches, and we've got great venues to play in, and I'm excited for the opening of the conference on Saturday.
Northwest Florida teams will be headed east over to Tallahassee. I guess that's about probably a 3-hour trek over to Tallahassee. So the ladies will play first again, and then the men will play in the late afternoon game over there in Tallahassee. Let's set our sights now on the 2 Gulf Coast teams, starting with Coach Rory Kuhn and his Lady Commodores. Hayden.
Yeah, Scott, this is a team that's been very good this year. They're coming in 12-1, ranked 6th in the nation. And so far, they're averaging an incredible 99.7 points per game. Ariane Francisco de Oliveira is averaging 23.6 points per game and 9.3 rebounds per game. They've been a very great team. And then on the other side of the court, the men's basketball team, 16-1, 6th in the nation. They've had both of these teams have had some time since coming off the court. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Trent Lincoln leads them, scoring 19.6 points per game, and the team as a whole, 89 points.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, Gulf Coast, the odd programs out, 5 teams in the conference, 4 will play on Saturday. The Gulf Coast teams get this first round bye, so they will have longer stretches between ball games.
Exactly.
In particular for the Lady Commodores, Coach Kuhn and his team, their last game was on December 13th, so quite a long stretch for the Lady Commodores. Here's my conversation with Coach Kuhn.
We actually had 2 games scheduled, and they both got canceled. You know, out of our control, nothing you can do. So you go from thinking you're going to have 2 games, and now you go, okay, those are gone, and now you just wait till conference. So we won't play till we play JUCO on the 14th here at home. So yeah, it's all practice. That's all it is. Getting back into the swing of things and get ready for the new year, which is the toughest part of the year, conference.
So that means you guys played when was your last game? Last Friday?
December 13th.
December 13th.
We won't have them played a game for a month.
So how much do you hate that? Come on, let's be real.
People say all the time, oh, you got to get the game speed, you got to do all that. And it's, you know, I tried to get the 2 games, but they got canceled. And so, to be honest with you, I don't know how much I hate it, how much I love it. At least we can control what we can control here and practice. Sure, it would be nice to play a game. Realistically, you'd probably play a game against a team you beat by 50 points anyway. So, you know, and that's not going to simulate anything that Chipola, Northwest, you know, Tallahassee, that those teams do in our conference, because they are that good, you know. Yeah, I don't think they'll lose a game edge. I think they'll be, you know, once they get in the game and you're playing in the conference, like, you know, okay, it's time to step up. There might be a little bit of rust and a little bit of sluggishness, yeah, but, you know, that should take care of itself pretty quick, hopefully. I think 2nd year in a row, we got the bye, so we don't play, and everybody else is playing on that Saturday. So, yeah, we'll split the staff, have them go out there, scout, you know, and check out, you know, our conference. I mean, it's that time of year. You know, obviously we're going to be familiar with each other. We played each other 3 times, but yeah, it's good to get ahead and just go take a look at those teams that we're going to be playing live.
So part of the staff will go north up to Mariana. The other part of the staff will head east over to Tallahassee. A couple of hours on I-10 there to watch their counterparts play.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time there. And again, also the men's basketball program at Gulf Coast, they're also getting ready for their first conference games, which of course will be next week.
Also doing some scouting, no doubt, on Saturday. Let's roll a little bit of our conversation with Coach Blue. We spoke with him also at practice earlier this week about the getting the first round bye and how well prepared his team is to start conference play, and also what he expected of his players over the long Christmas break. And how he feels like they had a couple of games between Christmas and New Year's. But here's part of that conversation with Coach Blue.
I thought it was good. I thought guys came back refreshed and reset and had a good focus at practice a couple days leading up to our games, and I was pleased. We obviously had some areas we got to get cleaned up and out of shape a little bit with some guys, but I think we've had some good work since we've been back. Yeah, just scheduled a game as close as we could to start a conference play. Didn't want to have too long off before we started conference, and so you know, we scheduled a good Bishop State team, a road test, and we've had about a week to practice here and kind of get our team better, you know, back from Christmas break. You know, we challenged ourselves in non-conference. I don't think you can quite replicate Panhandle play, but you can get close to it. And so we've challenged ourselves. We played some really good teams, Daytona and Panola, Florida Southwest, Jones twice. So we played some teams that are, you know, capable of competing in our league for sure, if not winning it. So hopefully that's prepared us, but we'll see where we're at as soon as it gets rolling here. I think it's, you know, this is my 4th year in the Panhandle, and I think this is the most balanced it's been since I've been here. Tallahassee's much improved. Pensacola's good again. Northwest is talented per usual. Coach DeMille does a good job, and then Coach Tyndall, you know, you can always expect a hard-nosed blue-collar team, and that's exactly what they are. So we'll have our work cut out for us for sure. There's no off nights, as you know, but we'll be excited, and we're ready to go.
And the Chipola teams, again, getting the bye on Saturday. The Gulf Coast teams, I should say, they will open up on Wednesday, a week from tonight, when they host the Chipola teams. So they've got a little bit longer to wait, and again, doing some scouting this weekend.
Yeah, and Scott, there's no question, it's not a secret that this is my favorite time of the season whenever we're getting into basketball season, conference season, where everything just means so much, especially down here in the Panhandle Conference. I can't wait for all these games to get started so we can see these wonderful matchups that we always see year in and year out.
And there's no doubt about it, the level of play, if you haven't gone to
You're missing out.
the auditoriums at Northwest Florida, at Chipola, at Gulf Coast, go out and watch a game. They play on Wednesday nights and Saturday afternoons into the early evening.
Women's basketball is always first. They follow the men's basketball games right after that. Definitely go out and see both of them.
Click on their respective websites, check out their schedules, print them out, and support these local teams, because you're watching a lot of players who will play on the Division I level, some on the D2 level, but you're talking about some really excellent college basketball. I don't say JUCO, I mean college basketball, and some top flight coaches. All of these coaches are capable of coaching. We know Coach Tyndall's been there before, being head coaches on the Division I level. Again, the quality of play, the talent on the floor, and the level of coaching is second to none in the country. So do yourself a favor if you're the least bit interested in college basketball, go out and watch some basketball. That'll do it for this edition of 7 Plus Sports Talk, presented by Bill Bird Kia. Thanks to our sponsor, and thanks to the 6 coaches for taking the time to kind of help us preview what's ahead, not just Saturday, but in the coming weeks as they play those 12 conference games. For Hayden, I'm Scott. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you later.